So we've exported our textures out of Substance Painter. Let's go into Unity now, and let's bring in our lamp and take a look at our textures. Now I've already brought in the end table here. I'll go ahead and click on that and drag it into the hierarchy, and there it is. So I'll just place this maybe right over here, and we'll put the lamp on top of that. So I'll open up a Finder window here, grab this table lamp and drag it into the Assets folder. If we drag this into the hierarchy, there's our lamp. I'll put it over on the table there. I'll zoom in with the F key. And let's go about assigning our textures to the materials. If we open up the table lamp FBX file here, we can see we've got one object for the base, one object for the lamp shade. So the base here I can take to pure white. And if we go down into our textures folder and into our table lamp folder that we created earlier, you can see here are the textures we generated out of Substance Painter. So here is our albedo, or our color, our metal smoothness, and our normal maps. So with this base selected, I will drag in the albedo here to that slot, drag in the metal smoothness into the metal slot, and drag the normal map into the normal map slot. Now once we do that, we're going to have to click Fix Now to mark this as a normal map, but then there we go. Now for the lamp shade, let's take a look at this. I'm going to select this, and we've got our standard shader here that was created when we brought it in. I'm going to change the color just a bit. I think I want it to be more of a kind of a off-white kind of a color here, something like that. I can reduce the metallic and the smoothness here. And I'm going to change the emission color so that it's a little bit brighter, so that it actually appears like light is coming out of it. But that is just yet another example of how we can organize our objects and materials based on what we want to do with them in Unity or in an external program like Substance Painter or Quixel Studio. So as I think about these walls now, there's yet another scenario that we can talk about. What I'd like to do here is I want two different textures on these walls. So for, say, this wall here, the one behind the couch, I want to have kind of an old stained or torn wallpaper texture on that. And I also want that over here on this wall, and I'd like that on this wall here. So on 3 of the walls. Now on the other walls, I want some sort of painted texture, like an old plaster wall that's maybe lost its paint or is peeling or something. And I want that texture on this wall here in the center here, this wall in the kitchen, and I want that painted texture on this wall as well. So I've got 2 different textures, and for each of those textures I've got 3 different walls. Now if we go back to Blender, let's go back to Blender and take a look at our UV maps for these walls. Here's one here. I'll go to my UV editing screen layout, and let's take a look at the UV map for this. I'll hit Tab, select all of the faces with the A key, and there is our UV map. Now it's not real optimized. There's a lot of empty space around here. What we could do is try and use up more of the space for our texture map here by including the UV maps of other objects. So let's say I also included this UV map, and I also included this UV map here. What if I could get them all in one texture space, so when the game is running it doesn't have to pull from multiple texture maps to apply the textures to these 3 objects? What we can do is build a single texture map for multiple objects. So let's think about how we might do that. First of all, I think here I'll work with this map while we have it up. I'll go ahead and hit the B key, and I'm going to border select this piece right here. I'm going to control up arrow to enlarge the screen here, and I'm going to hit G and just move it to the side for now. I'll take this UV map and this UV map, which is the baseboard up here, and I'll move this up, say up here. I'll put that right up here, and this UV map for the baseboard I'll put right down here. All right. What I'll do is I will combine, at least temporarily now, this wall and this wall into one object. I don't necessarily want it to be all one object forever. I want to be able to have a little bit of control of what I do with it in Unity, so I can select one wall and move it back or move it forward if I need to. But I can select this wall, shift select that one, and press Control J. And now if I tab into edit mode, I can see both of the UV maps. I'll take this piece and move it aside like that. These are the backs of the walls. I'll take this piece and move it up with this guy right up here. I'll move these baseboard UV islands down to go along with this UV island down here. All right. Now I'll select this one, shift select the walls here, and hit Control J again. And now if I tab into edit mode, here we have that UV map as well. I'll take the back of the wall and move it aside for just a minute. I'll grab that baseboard UV island and move it down. And I'll grab this wall right here and move it down just a bit as well. So now that we have all of the UV islands into one UV map, we can begin thinking about exporting this out to Photoshop. However, there are a couple of issues we need to think about before we do that, and we'll talk about that in the next video.